Hello fellow brawlers, I'm KairosTime and it is time to brawl. It's also time for an update sneak peek and we have a lot to cover because Brawl Stars is dropping some serious balance changes on the game. We're gonna start by covering 43 balance changes happening in this update. That's right, 43. But first I need to address something really important. I have been having a lot of people reaching out to ask me when I'm going to be addressing the video that took over midway through Brawl's Talk, since it was basically confirming a lot of my theories that I claimed in this video. Make sure you watch that, and if you do have any questions, subscribe because I do plan on addressing it after my update sneak peeks. And of course, don't forget to use code Kairos in the Brawl Stars shop.
KAIROS, code Kairos in the Brawl Stars shop.
The only way to avoid getting brainwashed by Starr Park.
It's not too late.
Normally I would just jump right into balance changes, but I have to define a couple of terms because there are a lot of changes happening that have to do with brawlers charging and recharging their supers. And I want to save all of us some time, so here we go. When I say a brawler's supercharge rate is getting a buff or a nerf, I'm referring to the number of hits that are required for a brawler's attack in order to fully charge their super. And on the flip side, when I say a brawler's super recharge rate is getting buffed or nerfed, I'm referring to the number of hits that are required for a brawler's super to fully recharge its own super, okay? Regular attacks charging a super is a charge rate. Supers recharging supers is a recharge rate. Also, when I say one tick, I am referring to one part of damage from a brawler's attack that deals damage to either multiple times like Barley or to multiple targets like Dynamite, right? Now, when I refer to one ammo, I mean an entire attack. And when I say one projectile, I mean only one part from that entire attack. Kind of like Colt's ammo shooting 6 projectiles or Shelly's ammo shooting 5 projectiles. If you didn't grasp that, go and rewatch that because we got a lot to cover. First up is Barley, whose super recharge rate is getting buffed. This only impacts Barley a few different ways, okay? But it's basically gonna make it so that Barley will only require 3 ticks of damage from his attack after a complete super in order to charge his super instead of the 4 ticks that would normally be required before. It's not a very big change, but it's something. Carl's getting a slight buff to his super recharge rate as well. No matter how I looked at this, I didn't see any difference, so I'm guessing it's small enough of a difference that it's only going to impact a very few minor interactions. Colt is getting a slight nerf to his super charge rate and the slight buff to his super recharge rate. I didn't notice any interaction changes for this change. It's just so small that it's only going to impact a few small specific situations. Jessie is getting a slight nerf to her super charge rate and a slight buff to her super recharge rate. She's still going to charge her super in the same number of hits from her attack, but she's going to require one less hit from her super in order for her to recharge her super, right, from Scrappy. Bo's getting a 10% buff to his charge rate. This means that he's now going to be able to charge up his super with 3 ammo or 9 projectiles instead of the 10 projectiles that he used to require. He's also getting a very slight nerf to his super recharge rate, but that's not going to impact anything very significant. Bull is getting a 2% buff to his HP. It's going from 6,860 to 7,000 HP at max level. This is a very tiny buff and it's going to hardly change anything, though Poco is going to require 1 more ammo to take Bull out, so that's interesting. Bull's also getting a slight buff to both his supercharge and recharge rates. These are such small buffs that the only thing this is going to impact is after Bull hits an enemy with his super, he's going to now require 1 less projectile from his attack to charge up his super again, okay? It's not very much. Daryl is getting a 4% buff to his HP and is going from 6,720 to 7,000 HP. Now this is significant and will allow Daryl to withstand 1 more ammo from the following brawlers: other Daryls, Dynamite, Frank, Jackie, Nita, Poco, and Rico. Now Dynamite is getting a significant buff to his super charge rate. He will now only require 4 ticks of damage from his attack instead of 5 to charge up his super. Now this means he's only going to require 2 ammo to charge up his super if he happens to land a complete shot on an enemy. El Primo's super charge rate is getting buffed from requiring 10 hits down to only requiring 9 hits for him to charge up his super from his attack. It still requires 3 ammo, so it's not that big of a buff, but it will help when paired up with his next buff, which is a super recharge rate. Now this is going to make it so that he's going to be able to completely recharge his super if he hits 4 targets rather than the previous 5 target requirement. Obviously by itself it's not a big change, but it's going to help. Additionally, El Primo's asteroid belt explosion radius is getting buffed by 11%. Now Em's supercharge rate is being buffed from 10 ticks from her attack required to 9 ticks of damage. This means that she's now going to be able to completely charge her super with 3 ammo, which is actually a significant change. Now, Jean's supercharge is also getting a buff, so it will now be able to charge with only 3 ammo instead of requiring a 4th ammo from his attack. Jackie's counter crush star power is getting a 50% radius buff. As you can see, it's going to be significantly larger, but I still have a hard time imagining that it's going to be the better option over Hardy Hard Hat. Max is getting a buff to her supercharge rate. Rather than requiring 14 projectiles to hit, she's now only going to need 12, which means that she's going to be able to completely charge her super with 3 complete ammo, which is a pretty significant change. Mortis is getting a tiny nerf to his supercharge rate and a tiny buff to his super recharge rate. Basically, these 2 changes will allow Mortis to recharge his super with 2 super hits and 2 attack hits instead of requiring 2 super hits and 3 attack hits. It's a small change, but anything is going to help. Nita is getting a supercharge and super recharge buff. She's going to be able to charge up her super with 6 ticks of damage instead of 7 that she used to need from her attack, and she's going to be able to recharge her super with 10 bear hits instead of 11. Also, her bear paws gadget is getting buffed from 2 uses per match up to 3 uses per match, but there's now going to be a 1-second delay before her bear stuns, allowing for enemies to either kill the bear or run away. Rose is getting a significant supercharge rate buff. Instead of requiring 11 ticks of damage from her attack, she's going to only require 9 to charge up her super, and that means she's going to be able to do that in 3 ammo. Shelly's getting a 6% health buff from 5,040 to 5,320 at max level. This means that she'll be able to survive 1 additional ammo from the following brawlers: Ems, Frank, Jackie, Leon, Mortis, Penny, Rosa, Sandy, and Sprout. But that's not her only buff, and we also have a lot of balance changes to cover still. Shelly's also getting a significant buff to her supercharge rate from 11 projectiles required to only 10 projectiles required for her to charge up her super. This is significant because she shoots out 5 projectiles for each attack, and that means she's now going to be able to charge up her super with 2 quick attacks if all the ammo hits her target. She did get a very small nerf to her super recharge rate, but it's small enough that it's not going to impact things at all when compared to before the balance changes because of the buff to her charge rate. I'm actually really interested to see if this is going to improve Shelly's viability in a competitive meta. It's a small change, but is it enough? Spike is getting an 8% buff to his attack damage, which is going to increase his damage from 728 to 784 damage per projectile. Assuming that Spike hits his target with 3 spikes worth of damage, he'll now be able to take out the following brawlers with 1 less ammo: Bull, Daryl, Frank, Jackie, Jesse, Leon, Max, Mr. P, Pam, and Penny. This is a very significant buff, but his super recharge rate was also slightly increased, although I didn't actually find any interaction changes for it. Tara's supercharge rate is getting a buff, so she's going from 13 ticks of damage required to charge up her super down to 12 ticks of damage required for her to charge her super with her attack. Against a target up close, this is going to make it possible for her to charge up her super with only 4 ammo instead of the 5 that was required before. Tick is getting a very significant buff to his supercharge rate. Instead of requiring 9 mines to charge his super, he's now only going to require 6, which is going to make it possible for him to charge up his super with only 2 ammo. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot more Tick heads in Brawl Stars. Next is Mr. P, whose supercharge rate is getting a very tiny nerf. But it's not enough to change how many hits are required for him to charge up his super, but his super recharge rate is going from 16 hits required to charge up his super again to 18 hits for him to recharge up his super. These changes to Mr. P are very small and are only going to impact a few interactions. Poco's Tuning Fork gadget is receiving a 20% nerf to the amount of healing that it does. It's going down from 500 per second to 400 healing per second, which is going to be a pretty significant nerf to this gadget. Surge is getting a pretty sizable nerf to his to the max star power. It is no longer going to split attacks if the projectile reaches maximum range. That means that the only benefit to the star power is going to be that it will split its attacks after it hits a wall. That is definitely going to hurt Surge in high trophies. Next is Gale, who's getting a couple of changes. His spring ejector gadget range is being nerfed from 12 tiles, which is awesome, all the way down to 6 tiles, which is not awesome, and it's going to make it much less annoying for you to face a Gale, but also much less useful to use. He's also getting a second wind star power replaced by a new star power called Freezing Snow. With this star power equipped, enemies that get hit by Gale's attack will now slow down for 0.4 seconds for each attack. So now you have to choose between stunning enemies who hit a wall for 1 second or slowing enemies down with every attack for 0.4 seconds. It sounds incredibly OP if you ask me, but we'll see how it actually impacts things once it's put into the game. You will still be able to move. It's not a stun, just a slow. 8-Bit's extra life star power is also being removed from the game, which should allow for Supercell to better balance him across all game modes. His new second star power is called Plugged In. With this star power, when 8-bit is within 6 tiles of his turret, his movement speed is actually going to increase. He's not going to be incredibly slow. Based off of my measurements, this makes him as fast as Bull, El Primo, and other fast-moving brawlers, so he's faster than normal, but not as fast as the very fast brawlers like Max, Leon, or Crow. And lastly, for balance changes, we've got Pam, who's getting a nerf to her pulse modulator healing. Now, the healing radius to Pam's super was actually a lot smaller than what it looked like her super would do, the green area, and that has actually been corrected in this update, so it's going to look like the radius for her turret has been decreased for that healing. However, it actually has not. It's just been a visual fix. But her pulse modulator range has been nerfed to fit the true radius of her super, so it is getting a slight nerf. Okay. That's a lot of balance changes, and now it's time for us to talk about Season 3 of Brawl Pass. Now, I haven't done my deep dive into this Season Pass yet because I want to wait for the official one to release in case Supercell does some changes, but there are some important things that you need to know, okay? Season 3 is going to be called Welcome to Starr Park, in celebration of the newest environment coming to the game, Starr Park Gift Shop, okay? The season's going to last 70 days, which means that it will end in the middle of November, but that does not mean that we won't get more content before then, since Ryan did say that there would be another Brawl Talk in October. Also, there are 70 tiers just like Season 2, and you'll notice that there is now a pin pack in the Brawl Pass, but there's also a pin pack in the free pass at the end of the pass, which is really awesome. Colette, the new brawler, is at tier 30 like normal, and then there's Trixie Colette at the end, which I am going to have to show you in a future sneak peek because she's way awesome. Now let's take a look at the 2 new environments, guys. First up is the training cave, which is no longer a cave. It is actually the entrance into Starr Park. At the bottom, you'll see a big Starr Park sign, and at the top is the actual park entrance. And as you can see, it's kind of flashing like it looks like it needs a little bit of attention. Clearly, Starr Park needs a little bit of attention. Then there's the gift shop inside of the Starr Park, and there's so much to look at. At the bottom of the map is the entrance, and you'll see all sorts of merchandise. And then as you walk up and look at both sides of the map, there are shelves and shelves of really cool things to look at. Now, I'm not going to cover everything in this video, but here is a really slow walkthrough so you can take some screenshots and zoom in on your own if you'd like to look at that, because there's a lot of really cool stuff in here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and are looking forward to the update. I plan on breaking Colette's mechanics down and doing a Brawl Olympics video for her, so stay tuned for a future sneak peek. That means subscribe, right guys? Oh, and also use code Kairos in the Brawl Stars shop. It's really good at, blocking off those mind control waves or whatever they're using against us. And for now, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Brawl Stars.